Okay, good morning Year 6. Just me this morning, not sure where Teddy has gone, but hopefully wherever he is he can hear this. We're carrying on with Letters from the Lighthouse, Chapter 4, The Roundup, and I think we could be about to find out a bit more about evacuation, so let's see. Every Monday morning we caught the bus to Paddington Station. As was usual these days, I'd barely slept a wink. Matilda, can you be quiet, please? I'll try that again. If you can hear some noise in the background, it's these lot. They're not that bothered by the story. This one's Matilda, and hopefully she's going to be quiet now. Are you Matilda? Yeah? Okay. The Roundup. Early Monday morning we caught the bus to Paddington Station. As was usual these days, I barely slept a wink. For once though, there was a bit of good cheer in the air, and with the fish paste sandwiches Mum had made us for the journey, it felt almost like we were going on a day trip. Gloria, who'd come along to keep our spirits up, also had news to share. I've done a bit of asking about, she said, and managed to sort a very nice place down in Devon for you both to stay. It's by the sea, and... Are we going to stay with your sister? I blurted out. Mum rolled her eyes. Let her finish, Olive. It's all right. Yes, you're going to Queenie's. I grinned, delighted. This was good news, because being Suki's pen pal, Queenie might know something about her disappearance, or be able to shed light on my boyfriend theory. She might even be able to explain about the map. Besides going to stay with someone who knew my sister meant we'd not be living with a total stranger. I'd never met Queenie, but I knew she'd taken on running the village post office after her and Gloria's parents died. She was only 19, so it's a big responsibility, but Gloria said that's what the war did to people. It made them grow up fast. He looked up from the Beano comic he was... Oh, what do you think, Cliff? I gave him an enthusiastic nudge. We're going to stay by the sea. He looked up from the Beano comic he was reading. Can you see the beach from the house? Better than that, Cliff. You can see the lighthouse, Gloria replied. Cliff and me shared an excited look. A lighthouse? Queenie's place is enormous. Attics, cellars, the works, Gloria went on. And it'll be nice to travel down with the other children being evacuated, won't it, eh? Other children? This threw me rather. I thought they'd all gone already. From your school, yes. A few schools stayed open in other parts of the city, but it's got so bad lately, they've been told to leave as soon as they can. The noise hit us the moment we left the bus. Coming from inside the station, it sounded like a school assembly, only 20 times louder. Even the loudspeaker making crackly announcements couldn't deaden the racket of hundreds of high-pitched voices, all talking at once. Gosh, I gulped. That sounds like a lot of children. What do you think you're doing? That's my tea. Elsie, get down. Down you go. Sorry, Elsie was trying to steal my tea. Okay, where were we? Gosh, I gulped. That sounds like a lot of children. It'll be fun for you, not being the only ones on the train, said Mum, straightening Cliff's collar. I wasn't so sure. More likely it'd end up being an almighty crush, and I worried about losing Cliff in the crowds. This time, I'd make certain we didn't let go of each other. Inside the station, under the huge glass roof canopy, things got more overwhelming. A sea. A sea of different school hats, straw boaters, blue bowlers, woolly green berets stretched as far as you could see. Being the only ones here from our school, we didn't have a teacher, so we stood near a group that did, hoping the billeting officer who was handing out labels would tell us what to do. "I don't understand where I'm to tie it," said a girl in a brown uniform. Her teacher looked ancient, at least 40. 40's not ancient. At least 40, and was crotchety in that way old people can be. 40's not old. "Oh, for heaven's sake, do listen to the instructions, Esther Jenkins." The second his back was turned, the girl and her friend swapped labels, so Esther became Dorothy, and Dorothy, whoever she was, became Mabel, until the whole group was giggling. It was quite funny really, except I was too on edge to laugh. Eventually, the billeting officer in her green army jacket and skirt reached us. "Names, please," she said, checking her extremely long list. "Olive and Cliff Bradshaw, staying with Queenie Pickering," Mum replied. "Budmouth Point, that'll be coach D," the woman said. Then to us, "Make sure you sit in the right coach. Mr. Barrowman's going with you. When you get there, he'll be teaching you in the village school. Isn't that nice?" I nodded, already anxious that I'd forgotten something she'd said. Cliff was gazing about him with eyes on stalks, so I knew he hadn't even been listening. Look lively, Olive," Mum said, jolting me from my thoughts. "Put your name on the label." She dug a pencil out of her bag and had tried to write my name, date of birth, and home address. It was a brown card label with string attached, which I went to tie on my suitcase. "No!" Mum stopped me. "It's got to go on you." Right above our heads, a loudspeaker sprang into life. "Platform 12 for the 9:15 a.m. service to Penzance. Platform 12, the train is ready for boarding." I had a feeling of wild terror that I wasn't ready. It was happening too fast. I wanted a bit longer to say our goodbyes, for it might be months or more before we saw Mum again. "Now listen, darling," she said to me. "You're to look after your brother, all right? You'll be fine." Oh, I wasn't sure I was capable of even looking after myself, but I nodded wretchedly. "I'll try my best." "You'll be fine. You'll be together." She forced a smile. It made me sadder to think we were leaving her on her own, but her job was here in London. She had to work to pay the bills, so we'd still have a nice home to come back to when these awful air raids were over. The buzz of noise was becoming urgent. Children moved quickly now. Teachers were shouting. I pressed a hand to my stomach, feeling it churn with last-minute nerves. Mum and me both spoke at once. "That's your train. We'd better go." I hugged Gloria, who gave me a bag of toffees for the journey. I thanked her, then put my arms around Mum. "Just a minute. Let me check you both," she said, pulling away. Taking out her hanky, she licked it, then wiped Cliff's cheeks, which he hated. Then she smoothed my fringe, even though it was already clipped aside. "That's better. You're tidy at least." I didn't want to look at her.